Tonight, before you go to bed, there is a very good chance you are going to eat something. Something small, something comforting, something that has become such a regular part of your nighttime routine that you do not even think of it as a choice anymore. It is just what you do. You finish dinner, you settle into the couch, you watch your show, and at some point your hand reaches for it almost on autopilot. It might be a bowl of cereal. It might be a few cookies. It might be toast with jam or crackers or a handful of something sweet from the pantry. It feels harmless. It feels like nothing. It might even feel like something you need to help you wind down and get ready for sleep. But here is what nobody has told you. That small, innocent, comforting late-night snack is doing something inside your body while you sleep that directly affects how clearly you think the next morning, how well you remember things throughout the day, and how sharp or foggy your mind feels from the moment you open your eyes. I am not exaggerating. I am not trying to scare you. I am telling you something that I wish someone had told every person over 60 years ago, because once you understand what happens in your gut when you eat this particular type of food right before bed, you will understand why so many mornings have felt heavier, cloudier, and more confusing than they should. Stay with me through this entire video, because I am going to explain exactly what this food does to your gut while you sleep, why the damage is so much worse after 60, and most importantly, I am going to share a simple change that many people tell me transformed their mornings in ways they never expected. Let me set the scene, because I want you to recognize yourself in what I am about to describe. It is 10 o'clock at night, maybe 11. You are not really hungry, not in the way you were at dinner time, but there is this pull toward the kitchen. This restless feeling that something is missing before you can go to bed. So you get up and you find something. Something quick, something easy, something that gives you that little hit of comfort before you turn off the lights. For most people over 60, that something is a refined carbohydrate. That is just a fancy way of saying processed, starchy, or sugary food. Bread, cereal, cookies, crackers, chips, toast, a muffin left over from breakfast, ice cream, a granola bar that looks healthy but is packed with sugar. These are the foods that show up most often when people describe their late-night eating to me, and I hear about it every single week. They tell me they cannot sleep without having a little something first. They tell me it calms them down. They tell me it is the only indulgence they allow themselves all day. So, what is the harm? I understand all of those feelings. I truly do. There is no judgment here, not even a little. What there is a piece of information that can change the way you feel every single morning for the rest of your life, if you are willing to hear it. Here is what most people do not realize, and it is the key to understanding everything I am going to share today. Your gut does not shut down when you go to sleep. It keeps working through the night, processing whatever you gave it before bed, and the way it processes food during sleep is very different from the way it handles food during the day. During the daytime, your digestive system is fully active, fully alert, running at peak efficiency. It breaks down food quickly, absorbs what it needs, and moves everything along the way it should. At night, everything slows down. Your gut enters a quieter mode, a kind of maintenance and repair cycle. This is when the protective lining inside your gut does its most important healing work. This is when the community of beneficial organisms in your digestive system gets a chance to rest, reorganize, and rebuild. This nightly repair cycle is absolutely essential for keeping your gut healthy and, through your gut, for keeping your brain sharp. Think of it like a road crew that comes out at night to fix the highways while traffic is light. They patch the potholes, repaint the lines, repair the guardrails. By morning, the roads are smoother, safer, better than they were the day before. That is what your gut is supposed to be doing while you sleep. Repairing, restoring, preparing itself to support your brain for another day. Now here is what happens when you eat refined carbohydrates right before bed. Instead of resting and repairing, your gut is forced to go back to work. That road crew that was supposed to be fixing the highways now has to deal with a sudden flood of late-night traffic. They cannot repair anything because they are too busy managing the chaos. The starchy, sugary food you ate hits your gut at the worst possible time, when the system is not prepared to handle it efficiently. It sits there longer than it would during the day. It ferments in ways it would not normally ferment. It feeds the wrong organisms at the wrong time, and those organisms produce byproducts that irritate the gut lining instead of allowing it to heal. I want to pause right here because I have a feeling that some of you are already thinking about last night. You are thinking about that bowl of cereal before bed or those crackers you had while watching television, and you are starting to wonder if that is why you woke up this morning feeling foggy and heavy instead of refreshed and clear. If that thought is crossing your mind right now, I want to hear from you. Leave a comment below this video. You can simply write, "I always eat something before bed and my mornings are always foggy." Just those words. Nothing more. Because there is someone else watching right now who does the exact same thing and has never made the connection, and your comment might be the moment the pieces fall into place for them. When you share your experience, you help someone else see their own life more clearly. That is a gift. Please consider giving it. Now let me take you deeper into what is happening, because this is where the connection to your brain becomes impossible to ignore. Inside your gut, there is a thin, protective barrier that acts as a filter between your digestive system and your bloodstream. During the nighttime repair cycle, this barrier is supposed to be strengthening itself, closing any tiny gaps that developed during the day, regenerating the cells that keep it intact. When you eat refined carbohydrates before bed and force your gut back into active digestion, that repair process gets interrupted. The barrier does not get the maintenance it needs. The tiny gaps stay open. Over time, night after night of this pattern, those gaps gradually widen. Harmful particles that should be contained inside the gut start leaking through into the bloodstream. Your body detects these invaders and responds with inflammation, not the kind you can see or feel on the surface. This is a deep, quiet, invisible inflammation that spreads through your system while you are sleeping, and by the time you wake up, it has already reached your brain. That is the fog you feel in the morning. That heaviness when you open your eyes and your mind feels like it is wading through something thick before it can fully wake up. That is not poor sleep quality. That is not just being a slow starter in the morning. That is inflammation that built up overnight because your gut never got the chance to do its repair work. After 60, this becomes significantly more damaging, and here is why. The protective lining in your gut is already thinner than it was when you were younger. The community of beneficial organisms is already less diverse than it used to be. The repair mechanisms are already working harder to keep up with the natural changes that come with time. When you add a nightly dose of refined carbohydrates on top of all that, you are essentially asking a system that is already stretched thin to skip its recovery period entirely. It is like asking someone who is already exhausted to work a double shift with no break. They can do it once. They can do it twice. They might even manage it for a week. Eventually, though, the toll becomes visible. The work gets sloppy. Mistakes happen. Things start falling apart. That is what happens inside your gut when you eat processed, starchy, sugary foods before bed night after night after night. The barrier weakens further. The inflammation increases. The signals being sent to your brain become noisier and less reliable. Many of my patients describe this progression with painful accuracy. They tell me the fog used to be occasional, maybe once or twice a week. Then it became most mornings. Then it became every single morning, and they could not remember the last time they woke up feeling truly clear and sharp. This is something I see all the time, and the pattern almost always includes late-night eating of exactly these types of foods. There is another piece of this that I find absolutely critical. When you eat refined carbohydrates close to bedtime, the sugar and starch cause a rapid spike in your blood sugar right as your body is trying to wind down for the night. Your body then has to produce a surge of hormones to bring that blood sugar back down, and that hormonal response interferes with the natural rhythms your body follows during sleep. The deep, restorative phases of sleep, the ones where your brain does its own cleaning and maintenance work, get disrupted. You might still sleep for 7 or 8 hours, but the quality of that sleep is compromised. Your brain does not get the deep rest it needs to consolidate memories, clear out waste, and prepare itself for the next day. So you wake up feeling like you barely slept at all, even though you were in bed for a full night. Many seniors tell me they thought they just had a sleep problem. They tried melatonin. They tried herbal teas. They tried going to bed earlier. Nothing helped. What finally made a difference was not adding something to their nighttime routine. It was removing something. Specifically, it was removing that late-night snack of refined carbohydrates. Now I want to spend real time on the solution, because this is the part that matters most, and I want you to walk away from this video knowing exactly what to do and exactly why it works. The one change I want to share with you today is simply this. Stop eating refined carbohydrates in the 2 to 3 hours before you go to sleep. That is it. You do not need to change what you eat during the day. You do not need to follow a special diet. You do not need to buy anything new. You just need to give your gut those final hours of the evening free from processed, starchy, sugary food so it can enter its repair cycle on time and do the work that keeps your brain clear the next morning. Let me walk you through what happens inside your body when you make this change, because understanding the process makes it so much easier to stay motivated. On the very first night that you go to bed without eating refined carbohydrates beforehand, your gut enters its repair cycle without interruption for perhaps the first time in a very long while. That road crew finally gets to come out and do its job. The protective lining begins its healing process unimpeded. The cells that form the barrier start regenerating. The tiny gaps that have been widening night after night begin to close. The beneficial organisms in your gut get the rest and recovery time they need to rebuild their numbers and resume producing the chemical messengers your brain depends on. Meanwhile, without the blood sugar spike, your body settles into its natural sleep rhythms more smoothly. The deep phases of sleep become deeper. Your brain gets access to the restorative rest it has been missing. The cleaning and maintenance processes that happen in the brain during deep sleep can actually run to completion instead of being cut short. You will probably not notice a dramatic difference after just one night. That is normal and expected. Real healing is not a light switch you flip. It is more like a sunrise, gradual, gentle, building steadily until one morning you realize the light has changed. Many people over 60 tell me that after about 2 weeks of consistently avoiding refined carbohydrates before bed, they woke up one morning and something felt different. The fog was not there, or at least it was not as thick. Their mind felt a little lighter, a little quicker, a little more ready to engage with the day. They could recall things from the day before more easily. They felt more present during conversations. One person told me that for the first time in years, they woke up and their first thought was not about how tired they felt. It was actually about the day ahead, about things they wanted to do, about plans and ideas, and they realized that they had not thought that way in the morning for longer than they could remember. Another person told me that their spouse noticed before they did. Their spouse said, "You seem different, you seem sharper, you seem more like yourself." I want to be practical about this because I know that telling someone to just stop eating before bed is easy advice to give and harder advice to follow. That late night snack is a habit, and habits have deep roots. So here is what I suggest. Do not try to fight the urge with pure willpower. Instead, replace the food with something that satisfies the ritual without disrupting your gut. A cup of warm herbal tea, something like chamomile or peppermint, can give you that same sense of comfort and closure to the evening without flooding your gut with sugar and starch. If you absolutely need to eat something, choose a very small handful of nuts, like almonds or walnuts, which are slow to digest and do not cause the same blood sugar spike or gut disruption. The key is not to white-knuckle your way through the craving. The key is to gently redirect the habit towards something that lets your gut rest. Give yourself permission to go slowly. If you have been eating refined carbohydrates before bed every night for years, start by skipping it just 3 nights this week. See how those mornings feel compared to the others. Let the results speak for themselves. Most people tell me that once they feel the difference, the motivation takes care of itself. If this information feels important to you, if it is opening your eyes to something you never connected before, I would love for you to consider subscribing to this channel. Every week, we explore a different piece of the connection between your gut and your brain after 60. We talk about the foods, the habits, and the daily choices that quietly shape how clearly you think, how well you remember, and how fully you show up for your own life. Everything is shared in plain, honest language because I believe understanding your health should never feel like studying for an exam. There is a growing community of people here who share your concerns, your experiences, and your determination to feel better than they have been told is possible at this age. When you subscribe, you join them, and I promise you that this is a warm, welcoming, and supportive place to be. I want to leave you with something tonight. Not just information, but something that feels like permission. Permission to take yourself seriously. Permission to believe that the fog in your head is not your destiny. Permission to look at a habit you have had for years and say, maybe I can do this differently. You have spent enough mornings waking up heavy and cloudy and wondering why. You have spent enough days pushing through mental thickness that nobody could explain. Tonight can be different. Not because you are going to overhaul your entire life before the sun goes down, but because you now know something you did not know before, and knowledge, even one small piece of it, is the beginning of change. Skip the crackers tonight. Skip the cereal. Skip the toast. Have a warm cup of tea instead, and when you wake up tomorrow morning, pay attention to how you feel. Really pay attention. Notice the difference, even if it is subtle. That difference is your gut telling your brain that something good is happening. That difference is the beginning of mornings that feel clearer, lighter, and more like you. You deserve that. You have always deserved that. Tonight is a wonderful place to start, and you are exactly on time.